Good evening, everybody. We're now live and streaming on the cable, so act accordingly. I want to thank everybody for volunteering to serve on this reconvened open space committee. Before I get into too many explanations or anything, I think it's be appropriate to do some introductions. I don't know if everybody knows each other or not. My name's Adam Monard. I'm the town planner. I've been with Auburn for a little over 2 years now. I think it's 2 years and a week. Before this, I worked for CMRPC as a disaster preparedness specialist. I have a master's degree in public administration from Clark University, a BA in history from Anna Maria. I'm currently pursuing a Doctor of Law and Policy at Northeastern University. Scott, why don't you go first?
Sure. My name is Scott Wren. I'm a member of the Board of Selectmen here in town. That's how I came to be on the Open Space Committee. I'm also a practicing attorney. I have a law practice here in town and lifelong Auburn resident. I believe I know most of the names here. So hello, everyone.
So Steve Chambers, you want to go next? Steve, you there?
Yeah,
right.
So can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry about that. Yep, so I'm Steve Chambers, a member of the planning board as well. Been in town for a few years now, and my day job, I do design and construction for a Fortune 100 company. And I think I know quite a few of you people already, so yay.
Nathan Rand.
Hi, Nathan Rand here. A member of the Conservation Commission, which is how I came to join this group here. Lifelong inventory control manager, a couple different areas, but I've been a resident of Auburn now going on 7 years.
All right, thank you. Mark Bernal.
Yeah, Mark Bernal, town meeting precinct 4, lifetime resident of the town of Auburn.
All right, thank you, Mark. Mark also served on the last iteration of the Open Space Committee, so he is going to bring a little bit of history with him about that committee. Dominic Cairns just joined.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm new to Zoom even through the pandemic. Hi, everyone. Yeah, my name is Dominique. I'm not a lifetime resident of Auburn. I moved here about 7 years ago, and I'm a mother of 3 interested in open spaces as well as recreational opportunities in the town and just general enrichment for myself, my family, and for the town.
All right, thank you. So that's the 5 of you are the committee. Looks like Todd Corain is joining in the audience. Todd, feel free to speak up when the opportunity presents. So I think the first thing on the agenda will be to organize the committee. You'll need a chair, a vice chair, and a clerk to keep minutes. I don't know if anybody wants to volunteer or nominate somebody for chair to start off.
I think if Mark has experience serving on this committee previously, I think he'd be a good fit for chair. Nominate Mark.
I would second that.
So, Mark, would you going to accept the nomination, or would you like to defer to somebody else?
I think I'd like to defer to someone else.
Okay.
May I ask, just because I'm not necessarily used to the inner workings of the town. I'm sorry, I have the crying baby here as well. But what are the general responsibilities of a chair?
The chair basically runs the meeting. Usually I'll put together the agenda, possibly conferring with the chair to make sure all the highlights are ready for the next meeting, and the chair will just run to the agenda, call the meeting to order, take any votes, call the roll call for votes. It's not really any heavy lifting per se, just it's more meeting management.
Okay. And there's the chair and a vice chair that you said is in need?
Correct. So the vice chair will step in if the chair is not present.
Okay. I'd be willing to run for chair. I can happily organize meetings. That's fine.
All right, I'll nominate Dominique for chair.
Second.
Thanks, Scott.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So all in favor on that?
Aye.
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 Okay, so Dominic, you can take it from here. You can take nominations for vice chair.
Okay, I'll take some nominations for vice chair. I didn't hear all the introductions, so we have Mark Binall and Nathan Rand here too.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll nominate Steve Chambers for vice chair.
Second.
All right, so Dominic, you could just say all in favor. I'm not going to make you do a roll call on this vote.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, and the last office is clerk. They have the important duty of keeping meeting minutes. Basically just notes of whatever is discussed. It doesn't have to be any, certainly not word for word minutes, just a kind of a rough outline of what was discussed, and any votes that are taken will have to be documented. So Dominic, you can ask for any nominations for clerk.
Are there any nominations for clerk?
I'll nominate Nathan Rand.
Second.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Okay,
I'll accept.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. So thank you. If anybody has any questions
Okay.
on their duties, I'll be happy to answer them if you'd like. So I don't know if you can see the meeting agenda, Dominique, or you have a copy. There's only one other thing on the agenda, and that's the overview of the open space and recreation plan. Sorry. My thought was, aside from answering any questions you may have tonight, was just to kind of give a brief overview of what the next 9 months to a year is going to entail.
Mm-hmm.
So without any objections or questions, I think I sent everybody a link or PDF of the 2014 plan, as well as the state published workbook on writing a plan. The requirements of the plan haven't changed since 2014, since this last plan was written. The Department of Recreation, the requirements for this plan are very specific. They want everything spelled out pretty much exactly how they want. So there's not much deviation. We can kind of add what we want, but there has to be the certain amount of information that they require in order for the plan to be accepted. This plan is scrutinized by Conservation Recreation to make sure that everything that has been written, everything has been done per their requirements. Some of you are familiar with the master plan process. The master plan process was not scrutinized like that. It was kind of left up to the town to add and write what they saw fit, that where they wanted to see the town going. This is not the case. Some ways that's better, some ways it's not. That's the way it's got to be. So a lot of the information from 2014 is still valid. If you look at the table of contents, if you've printed it out, I have it on your screen. I can pull it up on the screen. Give me a moment. Large document in a slow computer. There are several chapters that kind of catalog what the town has for resources. Community setting, which is kind of the historic and geographic information about Auburn. Environmental inventory and analysis, that really hasn't changed a whole lot. There hasn't been a whole lot of changing of forest land. There hasn't been a whole lot of, the town hasn't purchased too many new conservation space. I think that I can think of offhand, there's been one large purchase, the Southhold Road area. I think that was purchased 5 years ago, maybe. That's a major addition that currently there's no real plan for. It's an inventory of conservation and recreation lands. Most of that hasn't changed. There may be some new additions. Again, the Southhold Road. There's a dog park being built, or is going to be built in the near future. I'm not sure where they stand with that. In place of a skate park, I think it was. So there's been some minor changes, but a lot of the data is the same. One of the big things for this committee and part of the public outreach is to develop a community vision of where they want the town to go over the next 5 to 7 years and beyond. This is a 7-year plan that it's kind of a guiding plan for the town to what they want to do, how they want to do it. So there's a community an analysis of needs. So what this committee and what the public would like to, what we think they need, the town needs. And dovetailing off of that is the goals and objectives. So you kind of take what you think of the needs, what the committee and the public outreach thinks the town needs, and how do we go about and acquiring those needs. So there's the goals and objectives and a 7-year action plan. And in my mind, starting with the community vision, the analysis of needs, goals and objectives, and the action plan, those are probably the most important things for this committee to be focusing on. A lot of the cataloging of like the environmental analysis and the conservation recreation lands, I kind of figure is going to fall on me with being here full time. I'll be able to pour through the plans, make sure it's all accurate, rewrite any sections that are needed. And once there's drafts, I'll hand them off to you 5 for kind of just a review to make sure it looks accurate.
May I ask a question, Adam?
Sure.
I'm sorry. Are we trying to take a pulse now that we have about 7 years, 6 years, dated information in terms of what Auburn residents want as far as vision goes, or do we take the information that was already collected 7 years ago?
It's really both. We'll take the information that was collected 7 years ago, kind of go through it, especially like the analysis of needs, which is section 7, 8, and 9. I kind of envision this committee kind of pouring through, see what's been done. We need to kind of identify what's been done. Some of you are lifelong residents. You live in town. You probably see more things than I do, me just working here 40 hours a week or so in town. Then once we identify what's been completed or what we don't think is needed, We can build off of that. So what we want to add, what new goals, what new direction, what new facilities the town should be heading towards. And we want, a big part of this is public outreach. We want public comments. There's several ways to do that. Traditionally,
Adam, was there
some kind of in-person workshop where you invite the public, you invite the various boards and department heads to attend, pull their feedback, answer any questions, and really get a good conversation going. Obviously, at this point with the pandemic, nothing's being done in person, so that particular workshop, we'll kind of have to wait and see on that. The governor today just scaled back some of his the opening. So come spring, which is kind of when I would envision this workshop happening, say May or so, we may be in a different place, but we'll kind of have to play that by ear. Most towns, and it's recommended in the workbook to put out a survey. I think that's something that we can work on over the next couple of meetings and get that out by February, say. There are some towns that are currently updating their plans. We can kind of take a look at what they're doing for surveys, get some ideas. I believe I managed to pull what Shrewsbury put out. Shrewsbury is kind of a similar, they're bigger than Auburn, but there's similar demographics, similar makeup. Kind of see what they've been doing. And I can send out that material.
Does the town of Auburn, do your offices have a subscription to SurveyMonkey or any sort of surveying platform?
We do not. A SurveyMonkey, I tried to use that for the master plan last year, but it's kind of limited with a lot of subscription. I did use Google Docs as a survey feature.
Oh, okay.
Worked pretty well, so I think that's probably what we'll do this time around.
Yeah.
Adam, was there any information from the master plan committee that would be useful for this committee?
There is a section in the master plan on open space. Unfortunately, a lot of that data I did pull from the 14 plan, particularly around the goals. I think I added some that fed off the survey that was put out. I'd have to go back and check, but that would be a good resource to check out. It's one chapter in the master plan focuses on open space. And there is another chapter that talks about natural resources. So maybe those two chapters will be useful for your review.
Master plan.
That is on the town's website under the planning division page.
Now, did any information come back from the residents? I believe it was sometime last year when that was being updated that a lot of input was sought.
Yeah, I have to go back and refresh myself a bit. I know in general they want to see more green space, more recreation opportunities. I know this golf course was mentioned several times. Hiking trails is that's popular. A lot of people have some kind of access to water body, whether it's swimming or fishing or some kind of like a kayak or canoe launch, some kind of resource that way. The town has not pursued a swimming spot, whether it's a pool or due to some liability concerns. But that's not to say in the future that couldn't be considered again. So it's something to keep in mind.
There was one need that was assessed that I was reading about it. I think it was cited as being the number one item of importance, and that was water quality upkeep. I don't have the lingo right in front of me. Unfortunately, my computer's not cooperating, but I was wondering if you knew more about that, Adam, and if you could clarify what that need was or what that item was.
Sure. I actually spent the morning giving presentations at a workshop about water quality. The town has been somewhat proactive trying to address the water quality. Last winter, really all of this year, we've been working on a municipal vulnerability preparedness grant, MVP grant. We partnered with the Auburn Water District to try to develop best management practices to protect the water supply, which would in turn help protect the rivers and ponds and the aquifer. We also received another MVP grant that we're going to be starting in a couple weeks to do like an education piece surrounding Leesville Pond, which is an impaired water body. The Kettlebrook feeds into Leesville Pond, which then feeds into Middle River and the Blackstone River. So it's a kind of regional issue, not just Auburn, but an impaired water body. Right at Sword Street, it crosses Kettlebrook, and they do some testing there. The Blackstone Watershed Association tests that location, and it's been impaired for at least several years. I'm not sure what testing occurs elsewhere, or if the water district does much testing aside from their wells. I know they kind of have all the land around Darkbrook Reservoir is mostly water district land. I know there's a big concern with water quality. A lot of the salt from the roadways that gets treated in the winter and the ice storms all runs off the roadways and goes somewhere. Generally, it goes right into the water bodies. Whenever there's a traffic accident or trailer truck rollover, there's a lot in Auburn. There were at least 3 trailer truck rollovers in the past 6 or 7 months on exit 10 of the Pike. Often there's fluids that they can flow right into the water. There's really no treatment before they hit some of the outfalls to the water source. These infrastructure was built 60 years ago, and these issues weren't a concern back then. So it's definitely something the town's aware of and trying to do something about.
Yeah.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, yes, it does. Thank you very much. It's a good update on what is being done, what is being discussed. I don't know if that hits the main concern that was voiced or not. It wasn't really clear what people were looking for, except for maybe maintaining that water quality. I don't know if there was something additional.
Yeah, I don't recall from the survey that was done anything specific, but there's a lot of issues surrounding the water quality. There's a lot of water bodies that better or worse run next to the roadways, run next to the railroad tracks. Yeah. And that's difficult to keep fluid, salt, or even just trash out of them.
Right. Can I ask a follow-up question? I know a lot of people may be interested in becoming an active part as far as volunteering is concerned, as far as becoming involved in public outreach. Is volunteer work something of interest, or increasing the capacity of volunteering? Was that one of the main items? I know public participation was one of the things that was mentioned, but I see a lot of potential as far as open spaces goes for public outreach and volunteering from even high school age children, other youth groups or community service groups in Auburn. Is that something that was already discussed or considered?
I don't know how many groups like that currently exist. Scott, you're might be more aware of any than I am. I know the Boy Scouts were looking for a project recently, and I think they're going to try to clean up some trash. In one of the whether it was the trails off of Pappas or not, I'm not sure exactly what they decided on.
Nice.
But I really don't know of any groups that clean, like, aside from, I think was a one day a week that there's a trash pickup, one day a year that there's a trash pickup, maybe? Or was it every other year?
Yeah, a cleanup.
Yeah. But like, aside from, I know like some other towns have different groups that are much more active. I'm not aware of them in Auburn.
Okay.
There's a group that works on the French River that tries to keep that clean of trash.
Right.
Not pretty regularly. I'm not aware of anything like that in Auburn.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
It could be something that spins off of this committee's work down the
Yeah.
line.
Does Mark have any insight or words of wisdom from his previous experience?
Not that much. Right? We talked a lot about South Hall Road. That was a big thing. And we also we went through all the town-owned land and decided if we could use it for something. And some land that we decided we couldn't use, the town sold. Like there was liens on the property had back taxes, so they auctioned them off. There's like three parcels of land. One was on Southwood Street there, where the bank's making a big parking lot. Century One Credit Union.
Yep.
That piece of land. And are they still spraying the ponds, de-weeding?
No, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure if DPW does that or not. It probably should be. That should be something that should be addressed. There's a lot of invasives in the ponds and in the waterways. It's not easy to get rid of them. I don't know what they're doing right now to try to limit that. Nathan, are you aware of anything with conservation?
Nothing within the last 2 years. It has come up in our meetings several times, what needs to be done, but as far as I know, nothing has been addressed at this point.
And with Gleason, are you going to be on the Worcester side too?
So Liesel, yeah, we're gonna, for that grant, yes, we're gonna include Worcester.
Okay. Did that connect anything with the diversion tunnel at all?
Nothing at this point. We're looking to do it. There's failing culverts under Sword Street that go from Southwood Street to the industrial park. That's part of the MVP grant we're working on, is to try to come up with a replacement for that.
Okay.
And we're looking at possibly a green bridge. That's just, the diversion tunnel is just upstream of that. So we're looking to do like an education piece at the replacement, whether it's a bridge or some other culvert, do some kind of education piece about that. But I don't know what the condition of the channel is on the other side near Route 20. I don't know if there's trash collecting there or invasives down there. Obviously, a lot of roadways go across 20, and that 20 traverses that channel. So that may be an issue. And part of the channel, the open channel, is on, channel itself is state property, but town property surrounds part of the channel. There was thought to try to extend the walking trail that's behind Pappas and to follow it farther down south and hopefully and eventually east to connect to the Blackstone bikeway.
Mm-hmm.
That's just been something that we've talked about and don't really have a specific direction, because that would be worthwhile but extremely challenging trying to cross 20 and 146 there.
That was you, huh?
Mark, do you recall any easy wins with community outreach, or how you guys went about getting the most feedback?
We had people come to the meetings. Back then everything was open. This goes back 4 years ago, and a lot of people came to the meetings. And a big hot button was what to do with South Hall Road. But you really can't do much with that because the way it was funded, the way the town bought that. I guess you only can do like town stuff with it for 10 years. We had like citizens comment. Some people did come. One big thing that people wanted was a bike trail, someplace where you can ride your bikes.
What makes sense to me is somewhere other than the Pappas Recreation Complex, not because I think it's an inconvenient location or that there's not enough development, but it seems like everything is centralized around that one spot, and there's so much potential to maybe even work with Worcester to try to connect bike paths to the Millbury bike path, which will eventually go extended down south. I don't know if it's possible to work with Worcester or if that's a consideration. I know you mentioned that the walking path might extend that way, but is there any hope in working with Worcester?
Yeah, it's certainly something to talk to them about. Both Worcester and Millbury, they're both right there. I know they're trying to connect bikeway farther south that would connect Worcester to Providence with the bikeway. There, but Auburn being part of the watershed part of the district, it'd be nice to really connect the two. There's been kind of informal talks. I brought it up with the master plan. I think I mentioned master plan in other places, but there's been nothing specific. Another place for a trail that it would be possible is there's an abandoned railway on the west end of town. Kind of starts behind the middle school, goes down Blaker Street into Oxford, and that abandoned railroad actually extends at least to Brimfield, if not farther. And the abandoned roadway connects to in Oxford. Draw a blank on the park. They have a large park, kind of an area. You can see it from 12. I forget the name, but it connects down a ways.
Is it Greenbrier and Buffinville, those two dams over that way?
Yes.
Greenbrier and Buffinville, yeah. And then I think Hodges Dam is out that way too, right?
Yeah, Hodges Dam, yeah. And that abandoned rail goes south, I think, to Dudley, maybe, and then before it turns west and heads out, at least to Brimfield. I stopped following it on the maps after it hit Brimfield.
That's nice.
So, Adam, Adam, as far as the town, we'd be discussing what we can do with the other communities, but we're essentially responsible for what's within our borders, correct?
Correct. The plan is kind of specific to the borders, but I think it's worthwhile to include any regional projects. Whenever we apply for grants, it seems to be helpful. It seems to sell better with the state if there's multiple communities involved. If there's multiple plan documents about the project.
Okay, and as far as like funding and stuff like that, well, do we talk about that up front, or do we talk about that after we develop or see which ones we want to proceed and what grants are available?
At least planning wise, funding doesn't really matter. Obviously, if any of these going to be feasible, we'd have to source funding somehow, so that will come into play. I don't want to say don't limit your ideas just because of cost. Any idea is worthy consideration. And if there's funding becomes available 5 years from now, you didn't think it would be, well, if it's not in the plan, it'd be harder to justify those funds. So, yeah, for ideas and for goals, I don't think funding is really, don't let that hold you back.
Okay. But as far as us planning, we should certainly plan within the borders, but have a goal to reach out to the other communities.
Yes. If you're talking
through
trails,
CMRPC,
sorry?
would we do that through CMRPC, assuming that, you know, the towns have delegates through them?
Yeah, that would be probably the first step, is to talk to them about what they think is out there. If I don't have connections, they would have the connections, and they could kind of put us together with, say, Oxford or Worcester or Millbury, to kind of develop a team. And CMRPC obviously has a lot of resources to take advantage of. I think they'd probably be a first step. And we do have hours with them. We get 10 hours a year automatically for being in their district. So that those hours they can use for lots of different things, help with planning. I've used them since I started with mainly mapping. We don't have the GIS mapper in Auburn. That's part of this plan. We need mapping. My thought was to use some of the hours to ask them for some help with the mapping. We can get up to 20 hours of work off of them depending on how many meetings we attend. The delegates attend or myself attends. So
We've been getting those.
yeah,
Racking them up. Oh yeah, we're racking them up for you. It's a lot easier in a Zoom type meeting setting as well.
Oh, yeah.
Less excuses.
It's very helpful for like projects like this where they can spend 5 or 10 hours to do mapping, where otherwise we'd have to try to pay somebody to do that, and it could cost $10,000 or $20,000 for somebody to come in and do the mapping. Especially CMAPRC did mapping for the master plan last year, so a lot of the data is pretty up to date, so we wouldn't be burning too many hours, I don't think, for them to update it a little bit.
So it sounds like several of the members have some pretty good ideas in mind and already. I think we need to focus on getting some town input so we make sure we make the best use of the committee's time and resources. And building off that previous plan, like you had mentioned, some walking trails, some bike trails, stuff like that. I think we understand that is a need. Just want to make sure that's still a priority and something we should focus on, unless there's something other community members are really for. I think the swimming option was a hot button topic. I don't know if that's going to remain an issue that comes up. But how do we go about getting that feedback in this time? What's the best way?
Well, for town officials, I'd say we just invite them to future meetings, whether it's Bill Coyle from DPW, whether it's, I don't know, any Julie Jacobson, anybody else that we want their input in. I'm sure they'd be more than happy to attend meetings. As for the general public outreach, take this back to your committees. If you're on other committees, talk the boards and commissions up, and we can start reaching out on Facebook and such that we're having meetings. We can push the meetings a little bit more. And the survey, I think, will be the first big task for public input, kind of developing. I don't want to make it crazy on questions. I'm guessing 20 to 30 max. I think I had 60 plus for the master plan, and that was somewhat lengthy. Doesn't have to be quite that broad this time around. We kind of focused on one topic.
I think 20 questions is more than enough on a survey. Yeah. You get too much, people are not going to do it.
Exactly. 20 is probably a good number to shoot for.
I think that would give us the. Go ahead,
Steve. Okay. Through the chair, I'm reporting back to the Board of Selectmen, so I'll definitely bring their input after each one of our meetings. And yeah, I think reaching out on, should we identify areas as well? I mean, as opposed to just specific projects we want to look at?
Yeah.
I mean, we have South Hole, but.
Open space could mean just about any non-developed piece of property. Recreation aspect is a little more self-explanatory, but open space could be a cemetery. It could be just some, there's a piece of property along Route 20 that is chapter land. It's one piece sold, one piece is still chapter land right next to the park. That's open space, even though it's privately owned. The Southhold Road property, that there's restrictions on it right now. Only past recreation is allowed on it until that 10 years is up. But I think it's been 4 or 5 years already. Maybe I'm exaggerating with the time. I'm not sure exactly when it was purchased, but
You also got Granger Cliffs too. There's a walking trail area.
Correct. And that area is almost undevelopable because of the steepness of the steepness of the area. There's lots of open space on the west side of town. There's farms which are considered open space, even though they're privately owned. Hasn't been developed much. If you go up Rochdale Street, there's a lot of parcels that are just forest land. Oh, it's all open space, even though it's privately owned. That land could still be sold to another person, another entity. It could be sold to the town. There's all sorts of
we have first right of refusal on any chapter land when they go to sell or remove it from chapter land.
Correct. I believe that's how you got the South Hold Road properties.
May I ask an unrelated question to open space, but to a pre-existing plan with the town, which is at the library? Is there still the plan to build, I think it was some sort of structure over there for people to enjoy recreation as an extension of the Drury Street project?
Yes, we are currently with CMRPC. We received a grant to do a conceptual redesign of Garter Park. They are going to be putting out an interactive map. Hopefully soon. I just got a screenshot of it today. It looks kind of neat. There's no plans for construction of anything yet at this point. This is kind of a conceptual design, kind of a wish list. So that hopefully could be tied into future years' budget to try to upgrade that park. Maybe businesses or something could donate to it. The Rotary Club was involved with that initially. I think they put up the Polaris missile there. It needs some attention. Anybody that's walked through there recently, the missiles, both the Polaris and the Garter rocket, are a little rusty. The pathways are rough. There's a lot of goose droppings out there. It needs some attention.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Does anybody else have any other questions?
So, Adam, do you have access to the previous survey questions or something? Can you send out to the team to review and see how we can enhance or narrow those down so we can start looking for public comment?
Yeah, let me see if I can locate that. I assume it's in the server somewhere. It's a matter of locating it. I'll also try to locate a couple area towns to see if they have done any planning recently. I mentioned Shrewsbury is currently going through their process. They have a draft plan on their website if you want to see what kind of a newer plan looks like. Burlington also has a newer plan. They seem to have a nice plan. They updated theirs the past year. And I can try to find some survey questions for you to take a look at.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And then as far as you know from other town committees, the DPW and town manager, are there any pressing issues or anything that they've brought up that they'd like us to have at the forefront?
Not specifically, no. Kind of I mentioned just some of the general issues that we've been working on, some of the projects we've been working on, but they don't have anything specific at this time for this committee.
Okay.
I think it would probably be good if it's good with the chair to invite some of them to future meetings, just to kind of, you can quiz them and get their input on what they envision, what their departments kind of do. DPW does quite a lot. It might be worthwhile to try to see what they do, what the challenges they meet with maintaining the fields and preserving the open space.
As an extension of noted interest that I found kind of interesting was the community involvement, having more elderly involvement in the community as well as younger populations. Again, I don't have the exact verbiage, but how we can serve the elderly population as well as the younger populations, because I don't think sporting and recreation in those open spaces may really be appropriate for all ages, but some other vision that we might have and be creative about to include all ages. Maybe nature walks. I know a mom I was recently talking to said that she had gone to the town many years ago about a butterfly conservation idea. I don't know how long ago, if you were involved with that, Adam, but something of the sort, bird watching, nature sanctuary, things of that kind might be of interest to all ages. I don't know if anyone has thoughts.
That's a good idea. Maybe something Mass Audubon could be involved in the future. We can see if they can come out and do some kind of class or some kind of tour and hike of an area of town. Age is certainly a concern there. Auburn has an older population. The average age is 47, which is much older than most of the surrounding towns. Worcester, for example, is about 30, 31 is the average age. So definitely an older population, and that should be kept in mind.
I think any inclusion we should be looking at, elderly population, but also people with, different abilities for anything that we're considering. So that should always be a consideration in that. And I believe with the schools being converted to housing, there's opportunities for some of those fields that we're taking and or keeping and enhancing that for use for everyone of different abilities.
2 points through the chair. Through the chair, 2 points there. Would that, behind the town hall with the new Penrose project, we still have control of that field, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And the town's kind of going through all their ADA policies right now as well. So as we go forward, we should certainly keep that in mind. Like Steve said, to make sure it's accessible for all. That's all I got.
Yeah, Scott, I'll just add one thing about the ADA. There was just the town received a grant to do a kind of a study of the ADA. All the facilities, school and town owned, were studied and reviewed, and they have a kind of a list of what the issues are. That is a part of this plan to include kind of a self-evaluation of where the town is. So that will need to be incorporated in some manner. If you look at it's Appendix C in the old plan, there's a lot that the town can do to kind of upgrade its facilities, mainly access-wise. Sidewalks need to be upgraded. A lot of the sidewalks don't have handicap accessible ramps. Something the town's working on, and yes, needs to be included in this plan. Anyone else have any questions for me?
Can you clarify, Adam, how often we are to meet? And I know you said for about 9 months, and this is a 3-year commitment. Is there any other detail that I may have missed as far as administrative concerns go?
How often we meet is kind of up to you guys, to the committee. I would suggest once a month. You can kind of pick a date that's work for everybody and stick to that particular day, whether it's the first Monday of the month like today. The time works good for me. I'm pretty flexible, so you don't have to stick to Mondays. I'm kind of shooting for 9 months to do the plan, just because it expires November next year, and it does take some time for the state to kind of go through this and respond to what's submitted. I would expect comments from the state that we'd have to adjust something. It's kind of the nature to never accept the first product first time. But 9 months is just kind of a guesstimate on the length this takes. After that, it's up to the committee to continue on or not. You organize if there's stuff for the committee to do, there's a reason for it to continue on. Other towns have ongoing open space committees, even though they're not working on a specific plan. It's certainly a role that could be continued after the plan is complete.
Thank you.
Welcome.
All right, so through the chair, I would recommend that we do once a month. For me personally, the first Monday does work. Second, fourth Mondays are booked. Steve, I know, is Tuesdays, second, fourth, and Nathan as well. Concom is the second and fourth Tuesday, I believe.
Wednesdays.
So
I'm good
second
with
and fourth
Mondays.
doesn't work for people.
Okay. Any issues with Mondays for anyone?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll make it first Mondays. How about the 5 o'clock meeting time? How does that work for everyone?
That's fine for me.
It's a little early for me. It's a rush to get here for me to get home. 5:30 would be better.
5:30.
Okay. 5:30.
Work.
Yep. Okay.
Right, that's good with me. That will be the next meeting. November 7th.
December 7th?
Yep.
Okay.
Adam, do you know if they're going to be doing any work to Auburn Pond during the Drury Square project? Like cleaning it up?
No, there's no plans at this point to clean it up or anything. I know they'll be upgrading the storm sewers, stormwater, so that should help it, but there's no specific plans to clean it up.
Okay.
Adam, do you know if there's any ongoing plan for Gleason Park? I know it came up in our meeting once that they were going to renovate the building alone, but I'm not sure anything beyond that.
I'm not aware of anything aside from the building. I'm not sure when they're going to be starting the building. The building definitely needs some attention. I was in it once about a year ago, but no, I don't know of any other plans at this point.
I thought they were going to start that pretty soon. Conservation gave me the okay.
I don't know what the timeline is for DPW to start working on it. Maybe over the winter. I really don't know.
As far as communication goes amongst members on this committee, is anyone opposed to emailing any sort of rough work that is performed? Any developments as far as survey questions go? What is the best mode of communication? Is it just email or just at the meetings? What kind of workload are you comfortable with?
I would ask you final emails through me so you don't break any of the open space rules. There's not supposed to be any deliberation between committee members when they're not at a meeting. So we can kind of skirt that by if you send stuff to me, I can then send it out to the group.
Thanks, Adam.
You're welcome. So we're coming up on an hour. Does anybody have, not that we have to end at 6, but does anybody have any other questions before we kind of wrap up kind of the explanation and get to homework?
I just. Sorry, you can go, Mike.
Okay.
Mark?
Do you know if does the state use a lot of salt in the Mass Pike still?
They use what on the Mass Pike?
Yeah, when they see it, they use a lot of sand and salt, or they use the stuff that the town use.
I think they use primarily salt. They don't use sand, and I don't think they do any pre-treatment. I think it's primarily they just use salt.
Okay. Because that affects our wells and stuff and water quality.
Yes, definitely. We've met with DOT several times earlier this year as part of the MVP, one of the MVP grants. They calibrate their trucks to try to lessen it. We're going to be working with them in the future to try to make improvements to what they do.
Okay.
The chair, just so we're clear, so I think, are we in agreement that we want to start working or starting to get some community feedback, ways we can accomplish that? We can each, before the next meeting, start talking to people in the community, try and get ideas. And then I don't think for the next meeting, but maybe the meeting after that, I'd like to get Bill Coyle. Once we've kind of formulated some of our thoughts, I'd like to get Bill Coyle in just in terms of feasibility for maintenance of any of these projects. And I'm sure he's got some good insight into these matters.
Sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, I'll check his availability January 4th.
I think we're ripe for a motion to adjourn.
1 second. Okay, so I call the motion
Yes, please.
to adjourn. Okay, I'll call a motion to adjourn the meeting, 5:57.
I'll make that motion.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, thank you, everybody, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions to me.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Good one.